Lightning fall to the Panthers 5-2 in another physical battle of Florida. Have the injuries finally caught up with the Lightning? We'll talk about it on today's Locked on Lightning.
You're Locked on Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked on Lightning your first listen of the day every single day. We are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. As always, we want to begin with a shout out to our everydayers. Those of you tune into every single show, every single day. We love you. We appreciate the support you give us week in, week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I'm joined by the Santa Claus to my jingle all the way, Greg Steven. Greg, welcome in, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. Another Battle of Florida last night. Not the result we were looking for, but here we are.
A lot to dive into from this game. It was feisty. We had Jake Gensel, of all people, getting his first career fight. We also have Brandon Hagel leave the game after another hit that I will just say is dividing some fans online. How about that? There's a healthy way to put that. We'll talk about that. Also, the big question, are the injuries finally catching up for the Tampa Bay Lightning? I have a little bit of a bold take after last night's game regarding that. Plus, we'll get into the full recap. Before we begin, though, want to mention today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, you need to visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. All right, Greg, let's get into the too long didn't read recap of the Tampa Bay Lightning loss to the Florida Panthers last night. Not a good start at all. The Panthers go up 4-0 with 2 goals in each of the first 2 periods. Sam Reinhart scoring both a shorthanded goal and a power play goal in that span. We had Brad Marchand also score in that stand. Lightning started to battle back. Max Crozier, his first career NHL goal right at the end of the second period. And then right at the beginning of the third period, JJ Moser scores. It kind of looks like the Lightning maybe trying to build some momentum, get something going, maybe put a comeback together. And then Carter Verhaeghe closes the door with just about 12 minutes left in the game. Backhand shot makes it 5-2. Lightning never quite recovered after that. It was 5-2. Panthers was the final score. Not a strong effort at all from the Lightning in this one, including an 0-for-5 night on the power play. Greg, a lot of different topics we can talk about. Let's start with our plus minus. One thing we liked about the game, one thing we didn't. Greg, give us a plus from last night's game. Let's start on a positive note here.
Yeah. My plus is that Braden Point continues to roll, and he picked up 2 assists last night. And ever since he returned from injury, he has been piling up some points and looking a lot more like himself.
Yeah, and the Lightning need that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because when we talk about injuries and stuff, we need somebody to step up. And I agree, even with this latest loss and even with the loss against the Islanders the other night, Braden Point, in all but his first game back, has scored points in every single game that he's come back from injury from. Yep. And in 3 of those 4 games were multi-point games, Greg.
Yes, they were. And he's rolling. I'm telling you, he looks just like his old self right now. So I hope that continues because the Lightning are going to need it, like you said.
Yeah. I'm going to give a plus, Greg, to Jake Gensel fighting back.
Nice.
So I know we'll talk about this play a little bit more in depth as part of a bigger physicality picture, but basically what happened towards the end of the game, I would say it's pretty safe to say the game was wrapped up at this point.
Yep.
Jake Gensel battling in front of the net for a puck. Puck gets frozen. Mikkola comes in, who is a big boy, as you would say, Nico Mikkola, comes in and delivers a high forearm to the back of Gensel, whether it's in the back of his head or high neck, whatever you want to say. Gensel gets up. Remember, Mikkola is a big boy and has about 7 inches on Jake Gensel. Jake gets up and just starts swinging. Drops the gloves. It is his first career NHL fight. Gotta love that from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually loved seeing that. Now, part of me was like, dude, half of your team is hurt. What are you doing? You're fighting a giant, you stupid idiot. The other half of it was like, no, you know what? This is a physical rivalry in which maybe some players on both sides feel that players on the other team have maybe taken a few extra liberties with the players on each other's team.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Jake Gensel just standing up for himself, dropping the gloves, going after Mikkola. Mikkola kind of holding him back like the dog owner whose dog won't stop trying to jump up on him.
Right.
But I love seeing that fight from Jake Gensel. It was cool to see. I really appreciated it. Also worth noting that Scott Sabrin tried to challenge Mikkola to an actual fight later, and Mikkola said no. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Because that'd be fair. Just saying.
That would be more of a fair fight. Yes.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping that Sabrin and Curtis Douglas would slot into some of those fights, but obviously you can't pick and choose them all like that. But
I think as soon as the score hit 4-0, that was the extent of the any sort of Curtis Douglas appearance for the rest.
That's totally fair.
Yeah. All right, Greg. Give me a minus from this game. What's something you didn't like?
I don't know, man. There's actually quite a few things I really didn't like about this game, but I think 0 for 5 on the power play is probably one of the worst things that happened. Because, I mean, look, you capitalize on even just 2 of those 5, and this is a different game.
Yeah. And you know what? You also, the first power play of the game resulted in what, Greg?
A shorty, yeah.
A shorthanded goal for the other team.
Yep.
And it's funny because it seems like we just talked about the power play doing a little bit better. Inconsistency seems to be sort of the theme here.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we've been talking about how good the penalty kill was. I mean, they were first in the league the last couple of weeks. I think they dropped a second prior to this game, but
they've been number one at some points.
Right. And, to have that happen against, I would argue, your biggest rival, not ideal.
Yeah. 1 for 3. I mean, it's not horrible. And of course, the Panthers, I think, have a solid power play. What do you think is the biggest problem with the power play, Greg? Is it just the fact that there's so many people coming into the lineup? Because, I mean, it does seem like they get on a roll and then they crash a little bit.
Yeah. It's a great question. I really thought Point returning was going to boost this power play a ton because I think him in the bumper spot is such a huge threat to the other team because they have to tighten the box a little extra because of Kucherov. But I think in this game specifically, I thought Kucherov really did not look very good. This was probably one of his weaker games, at least lately. So, I mean, he didn't even skate. I don't think he skated even close to as much. Yeah, he skated only 18 minutes. So, yeah. I think to this game, it was really, I don't know. I think Kuch was just kind of off to this past one.
I could see that, over the course of the game. Not his best effort, but yeah. I'm Greg. To me, my minus is shots on goal for this one. If you look at the Lightning, 63 shot attempts in this game. And yet they only had a grand total of 28 shots on goal. So you look what happened. The Florida Panthers had 17 blocked shots yesterday. So kudos to them because that's a lot. And I'm sure there's a lot of players on their team waking up with a ice bath this morning. Because one block shot really hurts. Let alone 17. You also had a couple of shots ring off the post for the Lightning, and you also had a couple of really good opportunities, just missed the net. That was, I think, a little bit of a factor last night. Is you look and the Lightning did put a lot of pressure on that Florida Panthers net. a lot of volume. It just wasn't getting to the goaltender. And I think that is a little bit of a problem, is that they made Bobrovsky's job maybe just a tad bit easier with some of the missed shots and with, pucks not finding their way through to him. Now, all the credit in the world to the Panthers defense for managing to sort of lock it down and get those blocked shots. But, Greg, it's in a rivalry game like this, you want to test the other team's goaltender. And look, even with those blocked shots, they still had a lot of missed shots, a lot of pucks ring off the post. So, obviously you kind of hate to see that if you're a Lightning fan.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I actually talked about a lot with both of the previous two Islanders games. The Islanders are such a defensive team, and they block a ton of shots. And I think the Panthers aren't too different from that. And the Lightning struggle against extremely defensive teams who are willing to sacrifice bodies to block shots like this. They just shut the Lightning down, and we saw it again last night.
Yeah. We're going to have to talk about the Brandon Hagel situation. So Brandon Hagel does not come back to the game after what some people say is a dirty hit, what some people maybe say is a hockey play gone wrong. We're going to weigh in on it. It's a little bit of a complicated situation when we get back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly the entire game feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And trust me, live betting is best when the game starts to shift. Maybe a receiver gets hot. Maybe a defense tightens up, or there's a big turnover and suddenly the momentum is flipped on its head. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment as it happens. The live spreads and money lines adjust instantly to every big play. The player props update as guys heat up. So if Bucky Irving has a lot of rushing yards on the ground, your player props in terms of Bucky Irving stats are going to heat up. You can also bet on things like net touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. You can also go to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app straight to your phone. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. We're back on Locked on Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, let's talk about the Brandon Hagel hit. So basically, if you didn't see it, Brandon Hagel coming into the offensive zone at the blue line, dumps the puck in, kind of stops on a dime to try to get back inside the blue line. Seth Jones skates in, arm up. I think that's the important part of this conversation.
It is.
Like arm up, elbow up, and it hits Brandon Hagel. It looks like side of the face and then the main contact kind of around the neck. Brandon Hagel skates off, does not come back to the game. Jon Cooper had no update on his status afterwards. Greg, I'll leave this very open-ended. Your thoughts on the hit?
It's certainly a penalty. Like, they didn't call anything on this play.
No.
Which is remarkable to me because not only is he leading with the elbow, like you said, he starts here well before any contact is made.
Yeah.
And when you play hockey, they teach you you're hitting with this, not with this. And to just full on guide yourself into the hit with your forearm and elbow, to me is just, there's no defending this. This is a penalty. Now, if you want to take it a step further, it's also, to me, I would consider that neck head-ish contact. That's not the principal point of contact, is not the chest or a shoulder.
Yeah.
So to me, this is at least a fine. But now let's just toss in the Battle of Florida history. And how many times has Brandon Hagel taken a headshot I mean,
Yeah,
at this, it's
at
getting
least 3.
It's getting a little ridiculous now. I think, I don't know. I think this is a suspendable hit personally because of a lot of reasons, but at the very minimum, it's got to be a fine. It has to be.
Well, here's what I think is we haven't really seen a good angle of the other side where the contact came from. It certainly looked to me like it at least like grazed his head.
Yeah.
Which, if that's the case, then yeah, absolutely, that should be a suspendable hit right there. It looks like it maybe just like, makes contact with his head and then the bulk of it hits his neck. But here's the bigger problem to me is Seth Jones is coming into that with his arm up.
Yeah.
Dude, you make contact with the head with your arm up like that, you're out of the league for 5 games. Like, that's a 5-game suspension right there.
Yeah.
Like, forearm shiver to the head. We've seen those plays called over and over and over again as the type of plays that the NHL comes down on the hardest. So that's where I think this situation gets a little bit complicated because, you go on any Twitter thread about this hit and, half of it is the Panthers are dirty. They need to be kicked out of the league, suspendable. The NHL is not going to do anything, blah, 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 blah. And then you go on the other side and that's a clean hit. What are you talking about? I do think it's a little bit complicated because of where the contact winds up being, but that's, I think the hitch in this is that he went into that with his arm up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, that has the potential to be a dirty hit right there. That may not have been the end result, but it's like one of those things where it's like, if somebody's skating by and your leg is wide and you just almost make knee-to-knee hit, you're still approaching that with the potential to have a devastating dirty play.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it is what's the intent of Seth Jones there. No, I don't think Seth Jones is one of those guys that's going to go to the blue line and pull a Jarkko Ruutu and jump up and just elbow glance Brandon Hagel as he goes by. But it's also one of those things where it's like, he goes into that play extremely reckless. And again, like if there is contact there, like if there is contact with the head, if the NHL looks at it and says that's head contact, that is a suspendable play. That really is. And it's up to the NHL to describe it. If you're Seth Jones, like, why are you skating in with your arm that high?
Yep. Agreed. And I don't know which clip you've been watching. There's a really slowed down version on Reddit. But if you watch it right as he enters with the elbow, the head moves before anything else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like he's just turning his head. It looks like, something hits him in the head. So like while you said like we can't see the other side, I agree with that. But his head gets like knocked forward and down a little bit. And to me, that's enough. But like you said, I don't think Seth Jones is going out there to, hurt anyone.
Yeah,
if it was Bennett, I'd be like, get him out of here. But the other thing I wanted to say was there's no issue with the timing or who or where on the ice and who he's hitting, only because Hagel has the puck. It's a place where, this is a place of a big hit. Like it's okay to make contact here in general. Yeah. It's just like you said, the approach to the contact, that is the issue. And obviously the head contact is a massive issue as well.
Yeah. You also had, a few moments later, that was later, right? The Jake Gensel hit.
Yes.
You also have another arm up to the back of the head.
Yep.
Or neck, whichever way you want to look at it. 2 questionable plays again. You have Gensel starting that fight, Scott Sabourin trying to start something with Mikkola after that. Greg, is the Battle of Florida rivalry officially back? It was a little tame the first time these 2 teams played during the regular season.
It was.
Are the bad feelings coming up again?
I don't know that they ever left. I think both teams kind of realized the NHL was going to really crack down on them if they kept doing what they were up to. but I think they felt a little more comfortable this time around.
Yeah, I'm with you there. These two teams are going to play the first game after Christmas, so we are going to have to see if anything comes from that. Also, we're just going to have our eye on a Brandon Hagel situation because, Greg, these injuries, man, these injuries are starting to pile up. I know on yesterday's show, we talked about some bad news for Lilleberg. We talked about some bad news for Victor Hedman. The question I asked after this game are the injuries finally starting to break down the Tampa Bay Lightning a bit? Let's dive into that topic when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Hey, did you just realize that your business needs to hire somebody like, I don't know, yesterday? How do you find amazing candidates fast, as soon as possible? It's easy. You just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your posts at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. We've all been in a spot in which you need to get the job done fast, and if you run a business, you might need some help at the exact time that you need it. The pressure is on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed's Sponsored Jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on Locked On Lightning. Again, that is a $75 sponsored job credit if you go to Indeed.com/lockedon and say you heard about it on Locked On Lightning. Terms and conditions apply. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. We're back on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Steven. And Greg, big storyline for the Lightning for the past several weeks has been injuries. We might be having another one soon with Brandon Hagel. We're just waiting on an update from Jon Cooper. Obviously, he didn't come back. Obviously, yesterday we talked about Emil Lilleberg playing so well a lot for the bulk of this year, Greg, out until possibly right before the Olympic break. We talked about Victor Hedman being back or being out for possibly until the start of the Olympic break. Greg, I am watching these past couple of games, especially the one yesterday. This is the first time that I can really remember the Lightning looking hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall seeing anything like this in the last, 5-ish years? More, probably.
Probably not since that cursed 2017 season.
Yeah, which was, at this point, almost 9 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the most remarkable part about this for me is that they're all defensemen. I mean, obviously Hagel, but Cernak, Hedman, Lilleberg, McDonough, that's 4 of your top defensemen. So it's just chaos. And now, you got Vasi down too. It's so unfortunate. It's just not something that you want to happen. Obviously, if you don't want injuries to happen at all, right? But
No.
Ideally, they're more spread out amongst positions. I mean, if 2 forwards were out and 2 D were out, it'd be a lot more manageable. But 4 defensemen being out like semi-long term is unbelievable, really.
Yeah. Well, and then you also factor some of the missed times that some of the forwards were out as
right.
well.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic James is still out of the lineup. We've obviously missed Nick Paul at the beginning of the season. We had Braden Point out for a while. Nikita Kucherov missed a couple of games.
Yep.
Brandon Hagel himself missed a couple of games. I think Anthony Cirelli missed one at one point. So it just seems like I want to say the Lightning have played what? What's their record now? I can't do
28 games in.
However many games the Lightning has played, it seems like they've had that many versions of their lineup. It's just they haven't gotten any sort of consistency. And look, I the way that the Lightning have managed to pull their way up towards the top of the division standings with this situation going on is incredible. And I said it, I think last week or the week before. It's like, look, if the Lightning managed to hold on and finish like first place in the division after all this, like this is a Jack Adams quality coaching job from Jon Cooper if that happens. But you need everything else to go just so right. And I watched the game last night, and look, the Panthers are hurt too. Obviously, They don't have Matthew Tkachuk for another little bit. They don't have Sasha Barkov. They're missing a couple other people. So kudos to them for stepping up and their big guns stepping up. But I watched the Lightning last night, and they just looked a little bit tired. They looked a little bit out of sorts. They looked a little bit beaten down. And to me, I'm starting to wonder, Greg, if this situation's not catching up with them.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the one positive right now, I think, going for them is that the break is coming fairly soon, because I think it gives guys time to just recover a bit here. Hopefully some guys return, and this team can return to full force after the holidays. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they looked a little exhausted yesterday, especially for playing on home ice. You want to see them play with a little more fire. And again, it's not even a knock to the guys, because look, it's not an easy feat to have to play so much time to make up for these guys that are out and all this shuffling that's going on top of the fact that you're playing a physical rival. It's just a tough game for them for sure. But we've seen them bounce back as of late, so it doesn't dishearten me entirely. I mean, what do they have coming up next? They've got Wednesday, I believe, right? Or no, they have 2 days off now. Yeah, Thursday they played the Kings.
Oh, man.
Thursday they played the Kings at home, so a couple of days to recover here for them. And ideally, while you want them to skate a little bit on practices, I think this is a time where get your legs back a little bit and just recover, and then let's face the Kings and try and get a couple strong wins before the holidays come up here.
Yeah, they need some momentum, and look, any sort of extra rest this week is going to be good.
Yeah.
It does seem like there's maybe some good news on the way. Obviously, Ryan McDonough was a full participant in the morning skate yesterday.
Yep.
And it sounds like at this point he's day-to-day. It sounds like Dominic James is day-to-day. So there's going to be some help on the horizon. And I love the headline from John Romano at Tampa Bay Times that just says patience, Advil. That's the Lightning's two biggest needs right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to that, because look, I do, there are some key injuries. Obviously it sounds like we're not going to have Lilleberg, Hedman for the bulk of next month. It sounds like maybe Cernak could come back after the new year. They're going to start getting healthy, and then some of these players like Darren Radish and Dastu, who have really been stepping up, will have an opportunity to keep doing that, but with maybe some more help behind them, and maybe the less of a need to kind of shoulder the burden. And I think that's going to make the Lightning a stronger team. But it's just, until then, yeah, it's we might not see. It's funny because I think I said this on a previous podcast, and then they wound up having like the best stretch of the season,
right?
But I think we may just have to kind of embrace sort of that gritted out, win the chaos kind of games, where maybe it is like 6-4, or
right.
maybe we just get absolutely destroyed in terms of shots and puck possession, but Vazzy, when he comes back, or Jonas Johansson, or whoever is in net, makes some incredible saves, and we win 2-1. I think we need to just embrace picking up wins and not maybe nitpick about how we got them.
Completely agree with you. I think Hagel's health is going to be important here for the last 3 games before holidays. I think you really need him. But looking ahead, just briefly here, it's Kings, Canes, Blues, and then the holiday break. I think you should win at least 2 of those 3 games. I think you can beat the Kings, and I feel like you certainly can beat the Blues. Ideally, they pick up 2 in these next 3 headed into break, so that things look pretty solid. They feel a little stable, and they enter the break with a little bit of positivity. And like you said, I think Vasi was actually expected to play yesterday for a few days, and then they announced, I think yesterday morning, that he wasn't going to play. But that they do say that he's hopeful to return before Christmas. So
yeah, and it seems like that was the other thing, is Vasi himself also had a full, was a full participant in
right
skate. So
right.
It does seem like he's on the horizon as well.
Yeah, and look, I hope he is healthy to return, because I think this is one of those situations where there are so many injuries that if you need to head into break and let some of these guys sit extra, I think I'd almost just do that. Like, I don't want Vasilevskiy popping in here to play against the Blues and the Hurricanes and then go into break and re-injure himself.
Yeah.
I hope he's 100%. That's all I'm saying. I don't want anyone rushed back at this point. I just don't think there's an urgency to get everyone immediately. I think it's okay if you drop a few games right now, because you did set yourself up high in the standings. Like you said, you battled through the adversity. So you kind of gave yourself a little bit of leeway to take your time with the injuries.
Yeah, there's a lot of hockey left to play this season, Greg.
For sure.
Yeah. Look, a lot coming up for the Lightning this week. Of course, a day off today. They'll be back on the ice on Thursday against the LA Kings. They're going to need an opportunity to kind of sit back, relax, and get some health back. We'll see if anybody comes back. We'll also have an update on Brandon Hagel's health later in the week. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked on Lightning. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Back with a new episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.